There is no other place that I'd rather.
Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris Man, and as always, I thank you guys for coming to my show, Tell It Like It Is. I'm your host, and my co-host is Mr.
Joseph Spencer.
How are you today, Joe?
I'm all right, Morris.
Good. What we're going to do today, and we'll make this brief, because all of our topics are very interesting topics, and they're topics that nobody else wants to talk about. They're afraid to talk about it. They don't think it's important. And we do all these shows out of love for our young folks and try to help guide them, because we were fortunate enough to grow up in an era where we had big brothers and people in the neighborhood that kind of helped us not make the mistakes that they made. Because as you get older, you run across things that most of us going to run across. And if you're caring enough, you pass that information on to the younger folks to say, hey, this is what I did. It didn't work. You definitely don't want to do what I did. So today's topic is this. And before I say this, I'm going to say this. We're not picking on anybody. The topic that we're going to discuss is really to help young black women. And it takes a male to create the situations that a lot of our young black women get into. And the name of the topic is Young Black Women Stop Having All These Goddamn Kids. You know, there's nothing wrong with having kids, but when you're not getting married to these people and your kids are coming before the marriage, which never happens, it's not a good situation for you. You know, and what we're trying to do today is to try to kind of, I guess, help people make decisions that will not affect their lives for the rest of their lives. Because when you start to have kids outside of marriage and you're no longer involved with that person, that's a lifetime situation that you created that might not be in your best interest. Because again, we stress this. There's nothing wrong with having kids, but have them with someone you just married and you love with and want to be with for the rest of your life, or trying to. Then you have your kids, as opposed to I'm hooking up with guys at the nightclub. 6 months later, I'm pregnant. When they found out that they gone. Then they out there making another baby. Now you back at the bar stool meeting the same kind of guy that just left you 6 months ago that had you pregnant. It's a vicious cycle that has to stop. But I'm going to turn it over to Joe to get some of his insight on what did he think about this whole, you know, all these kids outside of marriages and multiple men that are fathering these kids with the same woman.
I've done several things to support myself. And I used to be in the trades. I used to model homes and build homes. And I traveled around the United States, and there are certain neighborhoods in certain cities where, and one day I stopped at the McDonald's to get something to eat. And I noticed at around noon, a bunch of pretty young black women start showing up with strollers. I looked at this brother, and
minus the husband and boyfriend.
Minus the husband and boyfriend. And the population began to build on these women dressed up with these little strollers and these little cute babies. Man, what the hell's going on? Oh man, it's lunchtime. This is what they do. I said, what do you mean what they do? The young black women were bringing their kids down to Burger King on the promenade. A few minutes later, black men start showing up in their vehicles. Hey, baby. I also noted that most of the kids had on little designer t-shirts and caps and stuff. And it's a phenomenon I've seen in 2 different cities. I couldn't believe it. Children are not a fashion statement. I still don't understand. I still can't grasp the idea of this as being a form of entertainment. To have babies and then go out on the promenade looking for another man.
And the men that they're in search of are the same kind of men that left them. So it's like, it's a vicious cycle that doesn't stop, because I think most of us don't realize how it affects the young black man. Because and I'll give you an example. You know, and we don't claim to be perfect, but me and Joe grew up in an era where daddy was in the house, married to mom, and taking care of us. And they both collectively took care of us, because the man brings a different parenting perspective than the woman, and both of them are dearly needed, not one and not the other, but both. But now you got to think about these young black men that grew up under these terms and situations. I'm living at home with my mother, who's only 17 years younger than me, or older than me, and also living with grandmother. And there's no man in the house to help mold me to become a man. And then I go out there and get there under the influences of drugs and gangs. And now 17 years later, I'm running around with my pants kind of hanging, sagging, and a gun in my hand and dreads in my head. You know, we have to take in consideration how this affects our children. You know, because no one is saying this, don't have sex and don't have kids. What we're saying is have them under the right circumstances, because when you don't, it becomes a mess for everybody. Because when you can't take care of your kids and raise your young men right, they're going to be the menace of the society, and 17, 18 years later, dead or in jail. So we have to stop this.
Yeah, it's something I was brought up in a poor neighborhood, and it's something I've been watching ever since I hit puberty. The girls in the neighborhood, they wanted little thug dudes, and if you wanted little thug dudes, your daddy had a Lincoln. I understand masculinity is mixed up with wealth and what he got and who's got what, but that mentality is gonna have to end. Young black women are gonna have to learn to get their own monies, make themselves free. Freedom come, education make you free. Knowledge make you free. Get to know your own body more than just being, I'm prettier than Halle Berry.
Because here's the argument that some women want to throw at us. Well, we need to get a handle on these black men that's getting all these black women pregnant. We do, but guess what? Guess who's raising those young black men that are out of control? Young black women. Not a husband in the house and the mother, but young black women. So it kind of goes back into the circle of we back to square one. We have to stop having all these kids with men that we're not getting married to, because if you load yourself down with several men's kids, guess what? All the type of men gonna come in and out of your life are the same kind of men. Because an educated black man is not gonna be interested in, and vice versa. An educated black woman is not gonna be interested in a man that got a bunch of kids, fathered a bunch of kids by different women that he never married. So we have to stop that. That's what's really taking us down as a people. All this outside marriage pregnancies that eventually, in some cases and not all, that's going to unfold into having a young menace to society, 17-year-old guy living in your house. It's out of control. You can't whoop his ass because he needs a man's ass whooping to keep him in check. You can't deliver that.
You can't be a gangster and go back to your mama's house. I never did understand that. You go out there, in my neighborhood, brothers with young brothers go out and do something totally illegal and then go back to their mama's house and go in the bedroom and close the door, and mama said, well, he's not here. His mama had to cover for him. Yeah. I don't believe my baby. He did do it.
He did do it.
How in the hell you going to be a gangster and hiding behind in a room at your mama's house?
Yeah. But you know, I think that is really our weak spot in our culture, because I know everybody is not the same, because we talked about this before, and I don't blame the kids, because they are the sponge that need to soak up knowledge. But if there's no knowledge to soak up, they don't soak it up.
They don't soak it up.
Because I watch these, sometimes these teenage white movies that are geared for white kids.
Yeah.
It's about white people. And their biggest desire at that stage in their life is when they're about to get out of high school.
And go to college.
What college you going in? I got to get accepted. This is a life or death situation, because they realize, because they've been taught how important education is. We haven't taught our kids that. It's just go out to get a burger frying job and chase these girls out of my house when I go to work, because you got these girls up in here.
Yeah.
We have to educate ourselves to say, hey, in order to be better as a race, we got to get our act together. We can't rely on the police to keep order, because the majority of those situations end up in somebody getting killed over innocent or light traffic stops.
Having babies is not an occupation.
But some people think it is.
It's not a career.
There you go.
Give me a break. All right, well, if they're going to do that, you should go someplace where they have breeding factories and they actually pay you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for getting pregnant.
Because I see kids now taking smaller kids to school. I'm like, when I was that size, I couldn't get across the street on my block without a parent's supervision. Now it's like, where are these parents that had these kids, and now these kids are out here by themselves going to school?
This 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, I'm older than you. At one time, like they said, it takes a village to raise a child. When I walked to school with somebody my same age, or my brother and sister took me to school, Miss Jones, 2 blocks away, would see me pass in her house when she's sitting in the kitchen, And if I was doing that, don't go on no more.
Nobody helps and watches each other. It's like, I don't want to be bothered with your situation. Leave me alone.
When you see little kids 8, 9 years old at 7 o'clock in the morning, they out there by themselves now.
Yeah, out there by themselves.
They out there by themselves.
I went to the barber shop this morning before 8:30, and I seen little kids by themselves walking to school. with a
You know?
bicycle.
But when I was a kid, that was a norm, but it was safer. You know.
Well,
Now you might have some idiot out here. Well, you can't help stop a kid from getting shot. He might just take it in his mind to shoot an 8-year-old or something like that. Put that little boy in the garbage can and burn him up.
Yeah.
I still don't know what the hell that was about. There must have been some demonic shit.
Yeah.
You know.
but we're gonna wrap this
Yeah.
up. And basically the message today is we have to start taking control of our situations. We got to stop this breeding like we done lost our minds with people that we are not going to be with, and ultimately the children suffer as a result of our negligence and carelessness. You know, because a child deserves a mother and a loving father in the household together to raise them.
Yeah.
Our kids are not getting that anymore. So we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah.
As always, I thank you guys for coming to my show. I'm your host, Morris, man, and my co-host is
Joseph Spencer.
Till next time, keep thinking.